Has the world order surrendered to criminal power? A systematic appeal for superpower responsibility in restoring global law and order. The world today is increasingly held hostage by actors who openly defy international law, undermine global institutions, and terrorize populations with impunity. When bullies destabilize nations and continents, the entire world loses its ability to rest, to function normally, and to pursue collective progress. If those who threaten global peace cannot be restrained by moral persuasion or diplomatic appeals, then decisive and lawful action must be taken to neutralize their capacity to harm. A world that cannot sleep because of criminals cannot thrive. Therefore, criminals who refuse to respect global order must be confronted with consequences strong enough to deter their continued destruction. 1. The collapse of institutional integrity. International institutions were created to uphold justice, protect human rights, and maintain global stability. Yet corruption, manipulation, and the influence of criminal networks have weakened these institutions from within. When superpowers allow themselves to be tied to petty projects, compromised agreements, or transactional arrangements that limit their ability to act against dictators and criminal syndicates, they inadvertently surrender their historic responsibility to safeguard global order. If the institutions meant to protect the world are compromised, and if the superpowers capable of enforcing accountability become entangled in the very schemes they should dismantle, then who remains to defend the stressed and terrorized populations? A world without an effective guardian becomes a world exposed to chaos. 2. Dictators and criminal networks as global threats. Modern dictators and transnational criminals operate with a clear pattern. They disregard international law whenever it does not serve their personal interests. They violate human rights and sabotage regional organizations. They infiltrate corporations and recruit influential individuals in developed nations through bribery, shared schemes, and illicit business arrangements. By successfully undermining institutions and tying powerful actors into criminal networks, these bullies begin to believe they own the world. They replicate themselves, creating more bullies to dilute pressure and divert attention. Allowing this trend to continue is not merely a sign of superpower weakness. It is the emergence of a dangerous world with no savior at the moment it needs one most. 3. The consequences of normalizing criminal power. If superpowers, corporations, or influential individuals continue pushing their agendas through criminals, they risk creating a world where criminal behavior becomes an accepted norm, as long as the perpetrators share profits or influence with those in power. This is a catastrophic precedent. What kind of world emerges when criminals dictate the rules? What becomes of populations who refuse to subscribe to criminal syndicates? How do terrorized communities behave when the authorities meant to protect them instead collaborate with their oppressors? When a population calls for help and the police arrives only to negotiate with criminals or to reveal that the criminal is one of their own, trust collapses. The institution loses legitimacy. People stop seeking help because the protector has become an accomplice. This is the global situation today. A world calling for help, while its protectors hesitate, negotiate, or retreat. 4. A necessary choice for superpowers. Superpowers must now confront a critical decision. Will they continue tolerating criminal entanglements, bribery disguised as lobbying, and investments tied to corrupt networks? Or will they reclaim their historic role as defenders of global stability? They must evaluate which loss is tolerable: the loss of corrupt investments and compromised alliances, or the loss of their future standing, authority, and moral legitimacy in shaping global direction. The world is watching. History will record whether the superpowers chose temporary profit or enduring responsibility. 5. A call for tangible, deterrent action. Restoring global order requires more than statements, sanctions, or symbolic gestures. It requires tangible, enforceable, and deterrent actions against individuals and networks that dismantle international law. Criminals must face consequences strong enough to prevent repetition. Dictators must learn that violating global norms invites accountability, not negotiation. Superpowers must stand upright again, not as participants in criminal arrangements, but as guardians of a world desperate for justice, stability, and peace. An urgent call for global accountability and restoration of justice by Richard R. Kayumba, agent of God's Tribunal.